Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. You may be curious how pricing on input markets works. Um, how how do business determine how much capital and workers they need? The answer is um, the answer is that businesses will hire until the marginal value of the last worker they hire is equal to the marginal expenses. Same goes with capital. They will use um, more capital um, more and more capital until the marginal value of that capital is equal to the marginal expenses of that capital. And with if they're if businesses are price makers in this market, then there will be obviously be negotiations and starting out marginal expenses are small because well for one there's not many workers and two they can get away with um, paying them less if they don't really need that many. They don't really need much in terms of either capital or workers. Though it should be noted that if the business is a price taker, then the cost of hiring more workers or renting out capital is justified. And the reason why is that if machinery has a constant price to it, um, then they can then they the business will get more and more machines until the cost of until the marginal value of those machines equals out to that price of that machinery. Same goes with workers. If you need let's say low skilled labor and the and there and if low skilled labor is constant, then there's not really much negotiations to that. Because basically it's like, hey, if you, if, if you want to get hired, then the industry standard is this this amount. Now, let's the talk about marginal uh, revenue product. How to determine what is the marginal revenue product is somewhat simple. Um, the the marginal revenue products for labor is the marginal product from that labor times the marginal revenue that they get from that. Um, labor. So, um, if I were business, if I had a business, and and if a, and if a worker can make me um, additional, let's say, and 30 cans of soda, and let's say each can I can get out of it $1 each, because that's how much I'm selling my canned soda. Then the marginal revenue on product of that labor is $30. Or take for another example, machinery. If the if the if a if I have this canning machine, and it can help me make an additional, let's say, 1,000 cans of soda, then as and in the, like, I'm gonna use the same price as earlier, $1 per can. Then that machinery is worth to me $1,000 per hour. Now let's talk about special cases. If the business is selling something in a competitive market and is a price taker for either labor and or capital, determining how much labor and or capital you need is quite simple. Because if the um, for, let's say, for example, I need low skilled labor for my soda factory, and there and since I'm a it's generic since this time it's generic soda, then this a standard how much I can sell for it is will probably be pretty uniform, and as such, the so let's say that market determines that generic soda is worth 50 cents per can. And let's say that if labor, there's not a whole lot of competition in low skills labor markets. So, like, let's say, no matter where you go, it can the industry standard for that low skilled labor is $12 an hour, then that business will hire more and more workers until the marginal product from that last worker gets to 24 cans. And the reason why is once the marginal cost is equal to the marginal um, product of the labor, then I, as a business, will want to stop hiring more workers because, well, I'm not. It's going to cost me money if I hire more workers than I need. Um, and same goes with capital. If I don't want to get more capital than I need to. As such, if if a if a machine um costs for example $1,000 per hour, then I'll get more and more machines until the output is 2,000 cans per hour, because the marginal product of at if I were to get more than that, then the marginal expenses of that capital will be more than the marginal um, marginal revenue product of that capital. But all right. Lastly, we're going to go over a few important things. Single input adjustments. If for whatever reason a input is fixed in the short run, either you got all this machinery, you got to deal with it until it depreciates. Then a single input adjustment will there's a decrease in the price of the input, namely labor, then more of that other input will be used because it'll be suddenly become more profitable to do that. Or for the opposite example, if there's not really a whole lot of people that can be hired, and if there's a decrease in the price of capital, then more capital will be purchased and used. All right, now let's talk about the substitution effect. Even if the output stays the same, if the price of input falls, then businesses will try to replace some of the other input with that input that is that the price has of the some of the other input with that input that got where there is a decrease in the price. And since and the that's the case, there it will cause the output effect, because and the output effect is caused by a decrease in marginal cost because the business will increase output until the marginal product, the marginal revenue product of that substitution is equal to the marginal expenses. And as such, more of the inputs will be used to make the products. It should be before I end this, I want one last thing. Not all businesses are had the same substitution effect, therefore it does not have the same output effect. And this is caused by the ease of substitution, which is very dependent on the industry. Like, for example, factories and taxi cabs are way different in how they use labor. Taxis, you need both tax and the car and the person driving the car. Unless the cost of labor shoots way up, and where tax and those and taxis, if that's the case, then those taxis might invest in automated taxis, but unless there's a drastic increase in the price of labor, there's not very much substitution effect for taxis, while the opposite is true for factories. You can easily substitute out capital and labor. As such, the ease of substitution is quite high, and it's quite easy to substitute labor for capital or capital for labor. Thank you, and I hope you enjoyed. And